Hi everyone, this is Amber from Dolls of Amber, and today I am back with another doll video. I was commissioned by one of my friends to make her an Ellen Hutter doll from Nosferatu. I haven't really watched this movie yet, but I do love the vibes it gives off. I think this character is pretty interesting, and it did kinda excite me to make the doll, hence why I accepted the commission. I decided to document the process of making this doll, so let's get started. For the base doll, I'm using this Cleo head, which is already painted. For the body, I'm using this Ever After High body. It's originally from Blondie Locks, and I'm just gonna use some acetone to remove the previous paint. I didn't do this paint, by the way. I got her like this as a freebie from a seller that I bought from before. I gave it a final wipe of acetone to make sure that there's no leftover paint. I'm gonna reroot her head first with some black nylon hair. And just like usual, I'm just doing the knot method for this reroot. I loop it on my finger, pull it tightly, grab it with your rerooting tool, and this will make a knot on the needle. Now I just plug this into the holes, and it's pretty secure this way. And now I just do this 100 more times till the head is full of hair. 2 days later, the hair is now filled. I made sure to root her with a lot of hair, and I put it into braids to give it some curls. I'm gonna give it a quick boil wash to set the curls in place. I'm just gonna leave it in for 2 minutes. Off camera, I did glue the hair from the inside of her head. I just used Uhu glue, and while her head was soft, I attached it to the body. I protected her hair with a sock to keep it out of the way while we paint her face, but in this part, I'm just sanding the body to prep it for the body blushing. Once that is all done, it's time to spray it with your varnish. For the head, I'm using Mr. Super Clear UV Matte, and for the body, I'm using Bosny Flat Clear. The head doesn't match the body at all, so for this, I'm gonna use some pan pastels. I'm just gonna mix the shade Burnt Sienna Tint and Titanium White, and I'm gonna put that all over the head. This will need a couple of layers. I think I did about 3 layers till I was happy with the coverage, and I was also respraying it with the varnish in between layers to help the pastel build up better. I'm just doing the same thing on the body just to make sure that it matches the head. Now I'm bringing in some color. Using my old eyeshadow palette, I'm just adding some warmth on her body. For this, I'm using a lot of pinks and oranges, some browns as well to add dimension, and I'm just doing that all throughout the body. Off camera, I sprayed her face with another layer of MSC. And like I said before, I'm just building up the coverage. I'm adding more pastels on her face to make sure her original skin tone doesn't peek through. I'm doing the same thing on the body. I'm just adding more color, just building up the contours and shadows on her body. It's the little details like this that makes the doll feel more complete. I can finally sketch out her face. I'm just using a mechanical pencil for this, and I'm just gonna block out the shape of her eyes and the other facial details. Once I'm happy with the placements, I'm gonna go ahead and start the repaint with my color pencils. I'm just using the Derwent Inktense color pencils. For this repaint, I did heavily rely on these pencils since I wanted to give her that watercolor pencil art style, which looks more soft and airy compared to acrylic paint. I of course still use acrylic paint, but I only used it for highlighting and adding catch lights. And this part, I'm just filling in her eyes with a brown pencil, and now I'm using Bark, which is the darkest brown color, to line her eyes. Using the same pencil, I'm shading in her iris to add some depth, and now I'm just tackling her eyebrows. I'm using some brown, and I'm lightly drawing the hairs. I'm also using a darker brown to add more depth, and I also added some black pastel to darken it a bit. Ellen's eyes are a little sunken, so I'm just using some brown pastels to add in that depth and give her some bags. I'm just defining her eyes even more. As you can tell, this involves a lot of back and forth, and there's really no linear step by step when you're repainting a doll's face. I just added in her pupils and drawing on lines on her eyes to give it more detail. I also drew in her bags. I wasn't really sure how this was gonna look. I thought I ruined it, but it did end up looking really nice. Now I'm just blushing her lips. I mixed up some pink and browns to give her this natural nude color. I'm also lightly blushing her face, making sure it's not too thick since Ellen is a pretty pale character. Moving on to acrylic paint, I'm just painting the whites of her eyes. I'm also making her brown eyes brighter by adding in some highlights, and it's a little hard to see here, but I'm adding in some faint little white lines going around her iris. And I'm just adding some white dots for her catch lights. I also added some smaller ones next to it. I added some paint on her lips to make it a little more vibrant, and I'm just going back and forth with her face, adding more details till I'm happy with the outcome. I'm just redefining the hair strands for her eyebrows, and I also painted in her tear ducts. I'm painting on some lines on her lips to add texture to it and make it look realistic. And with that, we're done with her face up. I think she turned out really beautiful. This is indeed very different from my other repaint, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Off camera, I sprayed her face with a final layer of MSC, let it dry, and we can finally remove the sock on her head. Now I'm just undoing her braids one by one. I'm using my rat tail comb to make it easier for me. Off camera, I did give her hair a bit of a trim. I just cut off the uncurled parts, and so far she's looking really good. I love the texture in her hair. Now I'm just gonna gloss up her eyes and her lips. I'm using Liquitex matte varnish for this. This doesn't completely dry matte, it's more of a satin finish, so it's perfect for adding a little bit of shine on her eyes. I also usually use gel polish top coat for most of my repaints. I use it on the lips and it makes it really shiny. For this custom though, I felt that the satin finish works better for the character. I'm just gonna add that evenly on the lips and the eyes, and I'm just gonna let that completely dry. Before we start doing the outfit, I'm gonna try to do her cat first. I think the cat's name is Greta, and I'm gonna use this cat figurine as the base. I think this is one of those blind box figurines, or maybe it's a gashapon, I'm not really sure. But yeah, it's one of those surprise figurines. I just realized that this cat has balls, and I think Greta is a girl. I just realized that while doing this voiceover. At this point of the recording, the cat is already done, so I think I might go back later and neuter her. Or him. But anywho, I started painting over Greta with a gray base. I'm just putting that all over the body. I'm also mixing in some variations of other gray tones. As you can see, I'm attempting to do a gradient. Some part of the cat's body also have some brown in it, so I'm just mixing some brown on my gray paint, and I'm putting that all over her lower body. Greta has some black lines all over the upper side of her body, head, and legs, so I'm just making sure to add that in. Now I'm just painting on her eyes. I don't know why, but I keep getting out of frame here and it's a little hard to see what I'm doing, so my apologies. I turned her eyes yellow and I lined it as well with some black paint. I gave her her pupils, and lastly, I just painted her collar. Once done, I'm just sealing her in with some matte Mod Podge. I watered it down and I'm just gonna put that all over the cat. I'm gonna let it dry completely and we are done with it. For the outfit, I'm gonna start making her bloomers. Here are the pattern pieces I'm using. I'm gonna sew the two pieces together first to connect the two sides of the bloomers. I'm using my sewing machine to have this done faster. But if you're following along, of course you can do this with a needle and thread instead. With an elastic, I'm gonna gather the ends of the shorts. While I'm sewing it on the shorts, I'm making sure to stretch the elastic as possible. I did this for the top of the shorts and the bottoms to create the bloomers. Now all I have to do is close it up. Once done, turn it inside out, and this is what it looks like. Time for the dress. We're doing the sleeves first. Just like with the bloomers, I'm also gathering the sleeves. I'm just following what the dress looks like in the movie. I think this dress is used as sleepwear. I don't really know what it's called, but this is what it looks like. And this is what the sleeves looks like after gathering. Moving on to the main body of the dress. This is the pattern pieces I'm working with. I just modified a t-shirt pattern that I have in my stock. I'm gonna sew the front and the back pieces first, and then sew on the sides after. This is the front and back pieces connected. I hemmed the neckline with some glue, and I'm gonna attach this ribbon. It gives off a gathered look as well, and I'm just gonna sew that in place on the neckline. This is what it looks like after. Off camera, I attached the sleeves, and now all I need is to close up the sides and add a closure on the back. dress is done and now we can move on to her jewelry. I'm making her a pair of earrings first. I'm using these studs with loops on the bottom of it. I'm gonna use these eye pins and add these transparent beads on it. I'm gonna cut off the excess wire on the eye pin. And to secure the beads in place, I'm just gonna use some UV resin. Put that on the bottom and then cure it under my UV lamp for 2 minutes. Just making another one for the other ear. Now with some jump rings, I'm just gonna attach the beads to the earring stud. This is a little tricky since the jump ring I'm using is really small. And I'm really sorry if this is out of focus and you can't see what I'm doing. But basically, I'm just closing the jump ring in this part. After struggling a bit, I finally got it to close. It should look something like this. I did the other one off camera, and now I need to do her necklace. She wears a locket in the movie. I'm just using this necklace from Barbie Dream Bestie's Malibu. I can honestly just give this to her like this, but I wanted to give her a real chain necklace, so I'm just gonna cut off the heart from the plastic chain. With my needle tool, I poked a hole on the top of the heart so I can loop a jump ring on it. I added in the chain and then closed the jump ring. And with that, we're done with her necklace. Now it's time to dress up Ellen. The necklace, by the way, is not removable. I just feel like if I added a clasp closure, it would be too heavy and it will outweigh the pendant itself and it wouldn't look right on the doll. I'm just putting on her bloomers in this part. Now her dress. I added 2 snaps on the back of the dress. Here are the earrings again. Let me just put it on her. Here is Greta. And as you can see, the bolts have been removed. That is everything. We can finally move on to the glamour shots. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on my other social media platforms. I'll have them listed down below. I'm also happy to announce that I have started a Patreon. I'll be posting a lot of behind the scenes content there. So if you want to support me and this channel, please do consider being a member. Again, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys again next week. Goodbye and take care.